So I was watching a video the other day where there's a young man, and it was, the river at Tampa Bay Church. And there was a young man talking about how he gave his car away. And then he had to go like 3 months or something. And he was wondering when he's going to get a car or what's going to happen. And somebody gave him an envelope. And he was like, what is it? Is it cash? He was saying something like, is it cash? Is it this? Is it that? And then somebody gave him I guess it was a brand new Mercedes or a pretty new Mercedes C-Class. And he's like, it's exactly what I was believing God for. It's a black Mercedes with this, that, and this, leather interior, blah, blah, blah. And somebody might say, well, do you have a problem with that? Not per se, okay? And when I mean per se, I mean in and of itself. But what I do question is, did it come from this man? Because no good tree can bear bad fruit. And he's made it seem kind of like God is some game show where you roll the dice, you give and you roll the dice, and you're waiting to find out what you're going to get back. Is it money? Is it a car? And somebody going to give me a house? What's behind door number 3? What? And everybody's like, yay! And I don't see that as being wrong. I mean, the guy did have to give something to get. But what I'm saying is, it depends on the heart behind it. If you're turning into a person who your relationship with God is like Pastor Rodney's, you give something and then you walk around reminding God, oh God, you know I have seed in the ground. Oh God, you know I'm believing you for this. You know I'm believing you for that. So if it's an act of surrender and you're obeying God and you're laying something at his feet, that's one thing. And then God blesses you over here separately. Oh, well, praise God, the Lord rewarded me for my goods or for my good deed or whatever it is. And is there a good deed there? Like the person he gave the car to, was it somebody who was in need? Or was he just giving? I mean, if the Lord tells you to give something, you do it, So, I mean, it's one of those things where it depends on the heart. The hidden idol in the heart, if there is one or if there is not. So, in and of itself, no, there's no problem with that. But if it comes from Pastor Rodney and his teaching, and you're training people to treat, if you're coming into a relationship where you're like a dog, or God is like your dog, a treats and reward type of relationship with God, and 20 years later, you're still doing that, where everything's about what am I going to get because I have seed in the ground? And God's trying to bring you out of the world, and you're using giving to get yourself more bound up in the world. I mean, when God tells you to give your HD TV, does that mean he wants you to stop watching TV and because it's an idol and your whole family is watching 10 hours of TV every day? Or should you just immediately believe God for a bigger, better TV and more channels on your streaming service, or more channels from your cable TV, Oh, we just upgraded our plan too. I mean, is the point to get the clutter out of your life? Or is the point to get bigger, better clutter? I mean, everybody seems to want heaps. Heaps of what? When I read my Bible, I see heaps of rubble. That's what I see more than anything. God talks about, my people have turned aside to follow after other gods. Now I'm going to give them heaps of rubble in every city and every town. Their homes will be ransacked. Their women will be raped. At the end of it, 10 men will go to one person and say, we're going to make you the leader over us. And that person says, oh no, I don't want to be leader over you guys. I'm barely surviving myself. I mean, that's in the Bible. When nuclear war happens, is it because God's people were so faithful that God brought nuclear war? When we see this invasion of Muslims in Europe and France and Great Britain and the United States, is it because God's people were so faithful and obeying God that we got infiltrated? And when it becomes real, for example, I remember being at the Walmart in Renton, Washington, and seeing multiple women wearing full-on burqas. Like full-on clad. They just had little slits in their eyes. Black, they look like a ninja. They dress like a ninja, basically. In Renton, Washington. And that was in, I want to say 2014 or 15. That means there's a lot of Muslims. When you go out to a store and you see a bunch of Muslims everywhere, that means what about all the ones you don't see that haven't come out? That are secretly hiding somewhere planning a jihad and legally purchased Second Amendment right firearms. I'm just saying. So the Lord told me it's because of the love of money and the idols and idolatry. That if God's people would just get everything right with God, we could defeat the enemy and rise up against everything. But too many people have turned aside to follow after the love of money and the things of this world. So is it a good thing or a bad thing that this guy is learning to give? It's a good thing if he's learning to give, but okay, so there's giving in order to get, and then there's giving in order to surrender. And does that guy have a prophetic gifting? Does he see visions? Does he get prophecy? And maybe he'd be better off believing God, laying everything down, and instead of believing God for another car, to believe God to have intimacy with him and to be close to God. And attain to a greater resurrection. It's like Eric and Jennifer Gagnon. Do you really want to live as a servant of Pastor Rodney for the rest of your life and then stand before God and realize that you were supposed to go all over the world yourself and be the one who was up there preaching and be the one who was making the decisions and be the one who was out there winning the souls and racking up souls? I mean, I don't think anybody should want to be like Pastor Rodney, where they're raising people up to be their own personal puppets. I mean, that's what Pastor Rodney did to Eric and Jennifer Gagnon. What are they ever going to accomplish in life when they stand before God? First thing they're going to hear is, where'd you come from? Well, Lord, we spent the last 25 years serving Pastor Rodney. I mean, what are you going to say when you stand before God and says, well, where'd you come from? He says, well, we were just in the United Kingdom with Pastor Rodney. And he looks at the scroll and says, last thing I saw was from 1999. The last scroll that I have written with your name on it was from 1999. It said, launch out and start your own ministry. And this says you were supposed to be coming from somewhere in South America. You tell me you just came from United Kingdom and from Tampa? I'm just saying. If you want that. But we always laid everything down and believed you for something bigger and better. Our house was full of idols and clutter, and we laid up treasures on this earth where moth and rust destroy. We received our reward in full in this life. Because there is a such thing as receiving your reward in full in this life. And if Pastor Rodney's only raising up a bunch of people who receive the reward in full, you know what it means to receive your reward in full in this life? It means you got nothing in heaven. You're not going. You have nothing there. So there's no point in making you experience any type of experience that would cause you to attain to a greater resurrection, which is like Paul sitting in a jail cell, John sitting in a jail cell on the island of Patmos. Remember, Paul was sitting in a jail cell writing 2/3 of the New Testament. John was sitting in a jail cell writing the book of Revelation. You think you're going to go to a city and win 1 million souls? When Philip traveled over land and sea to win 1 convert? Just saying, what are you guys doing? When are you going to figure it out? You're either of this world or you're of God, but you try to be half and half. We're part of the way up to God. When the rapture happens, we're going to go 3/4 up. When the rapture happens, we're going to go 85% because that's the level of which surrender I've had. And the Lord's been after me for that last 15% that I've been withholding from him. And even though I'm aware of what happened to Ananias and Sapphira in the scriptures in Acts chapter 5, I never seem to have registered in my brain, and I figured it out that it's all about surrender, not about getting something else from God. That's what giving is really about. It's about, one, it's about surrendering to the Lord, breaking your alabaster bottle and all your hopes and dreams that you had wrapped up into that little trinket, whatever it was, whether it's an alabaster bottle or a brand new car, laying that down at the feet of Jesus and breaking it. And in other instances, it's about helping other people who have need. Why aren't you being taught to help other? That's a big problem with Pastor Rodney. He doesn't care about anybody else who has need. And as far as he's concerned, who cares about the 100 evangelists out there that he was supposed to raise up? It's like self-centered. So his teaching, and so at the end of the day, we realize Eric and Jennifer Gagnon should understand this is who you serve. That's who you serve, Eric and Jennifer. For the last 25 years, what have you been doing? Running around supporting this man to go after and do whatever he wants to do. It looks like, turns out this whole time you've been serving the devil. And this guy who gets up there and is believing God for another car, so he gives the junky car that he has, and then he gets that Mercedes. Now is that Mercedes an idol in your heart? Or maybe you should give that one. I'm not giving this one. This is what I was believing God for my house here. And God knows I have seed in the ground. Well, now you got a real idol. The junky cars that you gave in the past were not an idol. How's that? Oh, oops. Didn't mean to go there. Now you got one that's a real idol. You finally gave and gave and gave until you got enough money or you got enough blessing back to get something that's an actual idol in your heart. Good job. Keep going, you guys. You guys are really going to make it to heaven. You guys are really going to stand before God with your chest all out saying, we participated in the 1999 to 2025 endeavor of Pastor Rodney to give 100 million souls. And God's going to just say, the angels are all going to start, and you thought you were going to heaven? They received the reward for everything. What do these weeds come up in here, getting up in my throne, trying to tell me I owe them, that they should go to heaven because the whole time they lived on the earth, they never laid down an idol. And if they did, they were believing God. They laid it down out of spite for God and said, I'm believing God for a double portion of that same idol. It's like,